Hey folks, Steve here. How you doing? So I suggest you go and you make your popcorn and you get settled in, grab yourself a cold drink of iced tea. This is a long one. I condensed it down. I did a lot of picture-in-pictures, but it's just long. I'm putting it out there for the 7 people who will watch it. All right. So let me show you the end product of what I did, and then you can see how it came out to be. This is a lending library. Our neighborhood has several of them, and we wanted to contribute as well. So my wife had the idea early on. I thought, hey, that's a really cool idea. She gave me a picture from Pinterest or Etsy, Pinterest, and said, hey, can it look something like this? I said, hey, I can figure that one out, and I did. It doesn't look exactly like the picture, but I think ours is cooler. Trust me. All right, there you go. It's attached to the fence. The fence is attached to my shed, and it is attached to the concrete, and so this is pretty stable. I also have front feet to make sure that it's not going to tip any, so it is really secure. It's been a whole long time ago when I actually was working on these steps, when I actually trenched this out. You'll see that coming up. That's kind of where the video starts. This project, I believe, started at the end of June of this summer, and I worked on it on and off for a few days and got it to a point where it was constructed. Then I turned it over to my daughter, and my daughter painted it. I believe my wife actually painted the base color, then my daughter came and she did all of the details that you see there, detail up there, and then around the side there's like a sword or something like that. Unfortunately, we were moving her out to Unfortunately, we were moving her out to Oregon, and because we were moving her out there, she got to start painting this thing a week before she left, and she was, she had to pack for a permanent move. So she was really stressed and really kind of compromised her time. So she did what she could. She had grand ideas. This is about a third of what she wanted to do, but it was all the time she had. So really cool stuff here. My wife had printed these signs from like cheapsigns.com or something like that. I don't know where this one came from, but that's a necessary sign given the fact that I created the steps out of just spare rock that I had that just ended this beautiful rock wall that I have that I had professionally installed. I did not install it. I've tried to install rock walls before, these laid rock walls. Spence don't do laid rock walls. Mine just do not look like this. And once I've seen a good one, I know what mine look like, and it's just nah. So this is what this video is all about, and I hope you enjoy it. Like I said, it's a long one, and I hope you stick with me. At the end, I will go over exactly what all this costs. I will walk into my walkout basement. I have to think on paper for this one. If I charged somebody to do this, what would it cost? Now, granted, this would be for someone who knew the price and agreed to it before I even started, as opposed to me them saying, hey, I want a lending library. I build this, I hand them a bill, and they're like, what? It never happens that way. So there you have it. Stick around to the end of the video to figure out project costs. Otherwise, I hope you enjoy the rest of the video. You take care. Have a great day. Like and subscribe, please. Bye. Hey folks, Steve here. How you doing? Hey, got a cool project today. In our community, now we have a community of around 15,000 people, and to me that's kind of big because I grew up in a town that had 2,000 people in it, and that was what we thought was fair size. So coming to the city meant coming to this town, which was a half-hour away, 15,000 people. However, I lived near Nashville for about 10 years as I was going through college and all that, and so I've been near urban areas, so I understand volumes of people, and I've traveled across the country extensively. So it is what it is, right? But anyway, in this town that we have a lot of lending libraries, little libraries that people have put up, repurposed furniture or things like that. And they have just put some books in there, and you can add a book, you can take a book, all that kind of stuff. So we're going to do our part, and we're going to add one as well. Originally, where these rocks are, I thought maybe I would pour a concrete pad, and by pouring a concrete pad, I would just mount to that. However, a couple of things. We have very little room between that and the property line with our buddy over here. And so that would limit it, and a door swing, and we'd be right on the alley. And then my wife chimed in and said, hey, couldn't you put it up there on that concrete pad? You don't have to pour concrete, and all you need to do is make a walkway. And I thought, well, I don't really want to do pavers or something like that. And then I rethought, and I said, well, let's not be so complicated. I have a big pile of rocks here. All I got to do is pull some mulch back, level that off, and just kind of grade it, and then repurpose these rocks. I'll put the landscaping material back. I'll repurpose these rocks. I'll embed them in mulch. I have extra mulch, so I can embed them in mulch and just make something that you can walk up to without being treacherous, right? And that solves a number of issues. So that's all I have to do. I already have the concrete anchors, and so I basically it's like 2 4x4 sleeves, powder coated and all that, so I can just Tapcon them into there. I won't do that today because I want to build the unit and know how big it is, and then I'll know exactly how to place that and get the kind of the foundation ready to go for that. So a really cool project, and I'll take you along with me as far as just kind of the various steps along the way and to our lending library. Now ideally I would love to mount maybe some solar up here, top of the fence, maybe on the side of the building or whatever pointing up, and maybe get some lights in this thing. So tonight when I sit back down at the computer, I will actually start looking for like a solar option for some LED lights on the inside. Thought that'd be cool. And then Jen thought, hey, could we put a couple of signs, like a couple of arrowed signs, we could have them made or something like that. They're probably prefabricated on Etsy. Lending library this way, kind of a thing. So, neato stuff, right? All right, well, hey, that's what I'm gonna do today, so come on. Okay, so what I can do next today and take advantage of some of this wonderful weather, a little bit hot, a little bit muggy, but it is nice, it's not raining, I'll take it. What I can do next is I have these 2 large sheets of plywood, 4x8 of course, and I would like to break them down because they're taking up a lot of space in my shed, and I can just make them into the parts that they need to be. So today I have a cut list, kind of a rough design going with some basic measurements. Got a cut list going right there. And that's all for the plywood. It should come out of 2 sheets and I should have some fall off left over. And I could, depending on what I'm doing, maybe actually assemble the pieces into a rudimentary box. I am going off of a picture that I was provided with from, I think, Etsy or Pinterest. I was about to say Pintalk. But Etsy or Pinterest, I'm assuming, is where the image came from. And so I'm just going to try and emulate as much as I can that as just the gem of the idea, and then I'll make it my own, and it'll be just fine. Once it's painted, you'll never know that I built it. All right, let's break some plywood down. Starting big, going small. Now, full disclaimer, I'm going to farm out the doors. I have wonderful Amish cabinet makers and hardwood people all around me out in the country, 45 minutes that way. And I'm going to take advantage of that, and I'm going to resource the doors out. So I'm going to get the box built, I'm going to get the face frame built, and then once that is done, I think I can actually take the box to them and say, hey, can you please make me a set of doors for this box? And that way they have it right there, they can take the measurements, and then I can pick the whole thing up. Maybe they'll even put it on for me. But they will need exterior hinges, exterior grade, whatever. Hey, all right, so let's set up and sand. Okay, progress. I have 7 pieces, top, bottom, left, right, back, 2 shelves. And everything has been sanded both sides. One side will be painted, and that would be the outside. And my impression is the inside will be stained and polyed. Now this is AC plywood. I didn't go anything more expensive than that, and it is pine. Talked with a hardwood guy, and he said, well, why don't you build it out of pine? Because I was looking into red grandis or sapele or something like that, mahogany, white oak, you know, really doing it up. He had a good point. How permanent is this? I mean, are you looking to put this in for 20 years, or, you know, what do you want to spend on this? $1,000 right now? I already have 400 in this. And for the sanding on the seaside, I sanded it first with either a 40 or a 60 grit on the orbital at high speed, and really did a good job with that. And then I hit it with 120, really good. And then on the A side, I just 120 all over. If we do it right, if we assemble this correctly, then the A side should be the inside of everything, and so it should poly up just nice. But in the end, you're not going to see much of it because there should be books in the way, and the rest of it would be painted. So it's just looking for smooth. Well, I come over here and, you know, of course I'm going to need things like clamps, and I'm going to need, you know, screw guns, and I'm going to need screws and all of this stuff, layout material. And I realized, hey, you know, I'm going to be building a cabinet box. I can use my, oh, it's been so long since I've used them, I'm going to goof up the name. It's like Chris something or other. Chris, I don't know, I found him on Ron Paul. But the idea is that I have these right angle jigs that will allow me to create right angles as I'm building cabinets or boxes or whatever, relatively quickly with a couple of clamps, and know that I've got a good 90-degree angle. And then after the cabinet's built, you know, just make sure before you final assemble, is it racked? You can check that with a cross-state feature, right? All right, well, where do I keep them? I keep them in this big, long drawer right down here, so let's check it out. So here's this long drawer. I have all of these down in here. Corner braces, that's what I am looking for. Look at that drawer, man. That's a long drawer, and it's not as long as they can come. I just don't have any room for longer drawers. These things. These are meant for clamping to build right-angled pieces. A line for right angles. And it allows for clamping, and they allow for clamping here and or in here, so you have 4 solid places for clamping. Can't remember where I left off. I set the camera down and then just got involved, so I think I made some progress. Here's the box. Shelves are permanently installed. I asked if we wanted adjustable. The answer was no. So I have 2 fixed shelves, 16 inches in between them all, and we're all set and ready to go. I have the side framing, both sides, and the back. So that's all set and ready to go. Getting ready for the roof, so I'm installing the rafters, I believe, and I simply chose 45. So I have my plate and then my rafter at 45. I have another one pre-made on the bench, and I'll just install it. Then I'm going to cleat between them, and that should be sufficient to install my sheathing on my roof. I actually have drip edge, and I will treat it like a regular roof, even though it's tiny, and I'll just roof it that way. What else? Oh, I'm sorry. Face frame is right here. Face frame is completely done. It fits. I'll be able to take this face frame out to the Amish and say, hey, could you please make some doors? So we'll be happy to have those doors, and they will prepare them for glass. We'll get the glass, install the glass. There's the back of the thing. The screws you see there for the fixed shelves. Got the roof on it. Alright, so there it is in its totality. Well, I think it is time for me to clean up. It's a long day. I started with just pieces, and now I have a structure. I think it'll get painted tomorrow. I have the face frame over there. You can see the face frame. That'll go to the Amish, not tomorrow, but Monday maybe, and see what their timeline is for doors. Progress in the form of the entire thing has been coated with kind of like a clear poly. It's basically a clear sealer, so we're not going to have any issues with any of this washing out. So there's that. And I've just installed magnetic catches, a little metallic circle there. And I did that both doors, and I also did that at the bottom as well. So it's very secure. When it closes, I will not bother to put the handles on. I have pulls for them, and they're right over there. But I will not put them on until this is actually installed in place, because that may affect how high or how low I want to put the pulls, because this, of course, will not set this low to the ground. It'll actually be up a bit. Right now, I'm anticipating about 16 inches off the ground to the bottom of the piece. That could change a little bit. I have 2 or 3 inches of flex, and it really has to do with how tall are you looking at that top shelf. That's really what it is. The other 2 shelves, not a big deal. All right, so I'm out there, and I just bought treated, just got back. I'm going to start assembling a kind of a framework to attach this to, because I'm attaching it to a fence, an existing fence that I have, and I will be under supporting it with 4x4 legs, all treated. Alright, here's a quick update. Back out in the alleyway. I'll offer my apologies in that I did not film any of the installation of this thing. It was all I could do, along with Mrs. Spencer, to get this thing installed, because it goes well over 150 pounds for that unit. It's like 2 sheets of plywood plus, and then you have the shingles on the roof as well, which is about a half a bundle. And so all together, you know, it's a lot. And to deadlift that up and get screws and everything else in, it was just kind of a cluster. However, it is in. I have to make front feet for it, so I'm going to do some legs. And it's fully suspended on that fence. That fence isn't going anywhere, so this is not going anywhere. However, I do want to support the front anyway, just to keep it from doing any kind of tipping, just keeping it stable. I'll have handles to put onto it, but for right now, magnetic catches, glasses in it, magnetic catches, likewise on this side, magnetic catches. And so then we have a full interior with LED lighting, which is what I am working on today. So currently I have the 18 gauge wire out of the back of this going through my fence, and I just have it coiled up out here. I have plenty. I need to get it inside this shed somewhere, but first inside the shed what I have to do is I have to find a source of power, which is not hard. I have 3 or 4 receptacles that I've ran into this thing, and I will simply tap off of one of those receptacles to run to a switch that will run to another receptacle that I will have to install, and then I will make a switched receptacle that will have the transformer for that LED bank plugged into it, and then I'll tie that, tell the Then I will tie the 18 gauge wire into the transformer, and we should be rocking and rolling with some LED. All right, out here in the rain, I have sign, Woo. Stepped in the water. Please watch your step. Steps. And then, finally, all stocked. Right up to here. Arts and crafts on top. A few, I guess what I would call maybe classics, or actually just kind of general fiction. Mystery. Horror, science fiction, general hardcovers, and lots of books for the kids. All stocked and open for business. All right, costs. Let's figure this out. Materials. The first round of materials was, say, $450, and that included plywood, trim, and fasteners, and a few other things, but it was 2 or 3 sheets of plywood and a lot of 1x trim, and it was exterior grade pre-primed. So it was very expensive, $450 for that. I had additional materials in the form of the LED lighting system, and let's call that an even $75. I had additional materials in bundle of shingles and drip edge, and let's call that another $75. Materials, paint. I'm assuming we had probably about $50 in paint. All told, I think, that would be maybe paint, and I think we had some polyurethane or stain or something like that as well. That might be a little bit low. There we go for materials. All right, so labor to build. So in the build, I had approximately 1 day involved in breaking down plywood, sanding that plywood, and then priming one side, and I had to let the primer dry. I came back the following day and did a coat of stain, and then multiple coats of polyurethane. All right, so let's call this 1.5 days, and I look to, if I can, get $100 an hour or $800 a day. So let's call that, I'll just call that an even $1,000. It's not quite, but let's call that an even 1,000. All right, so that's just getting it ready. Then I actually have to, again, for the build, I had a day fabricating, building the box, and trimming out the box, cutting the rafters, and putting the roof on. And so again, let's call that a day. I'm going to call that, I'll be generous and say $700. I had to roof it, I had, say, 2 hours. Let's call that $200. Okay, so this is what I have into it. Then we had painting, the actual finished painting. So painting, probably a day all told with a couple of coats of paint. For painting, let's say $500 for 1 day. And then for the artistry, let's go ahead and give another $300 to say if I paid an artist to decorate it out. And that would be just a charge. After that, then we have the install. And the install took, I don't know, probably about, call it 3 hours. $300 for the install. And that includes, getting the fence ready and everything else. 3 hours for that. Let's see, wiring. Wiring, I had probably about a half a day, all told with everything, including all the wiring. So let's call that $400. I think that's everything. Not including loading it, but that's not what I would do. All right, so what do we have here? We have 7, 1,000, 1,700, 2,400, 3,400. So $3,400. $3,400 in just actually crafting the thing, and then in materials, we have $450, $500, $600, $650 in that. $650 and $3,400. Let's call that an even $4,000. All right, there you go. And even $4,000. I have a video out when I was... Wow, $4,000. I put a video out not too long ago, and it had to do with, really it was about clients. And a client asks you to do something. And when they ask you to do it, they really don't know, for the most part, exactly what all that entails. And for me, I was just doing this lending library project, so that was the example that I used in that video. And I just looked around me and I thought, wow, this is a lot of tools. There's a lot of material you would not expect if you just if you didn't think about it. And I have a ton of tools out to make this little, basically a single cabinet happen. I had to build a cabinet. In that video, the idea behind the video was clients just don't understand, and then, with the charges and everything else, where the charges actually come from and why things can be so expensive. In there, as I just kind of ballparked the number, I came up with $4,000 as far as an expense for that thing. This independently arrived at, because I wasn't thinking about that video, it came out to about $4,000. So impressive on just those two numbers lining up over 2 or 3 months of time. Because it's now October, that was like June or July or something like that. Or whatever the project is, you can fill in the project. I want this. And then you, okay, well, it's going to cost this. Well, I thought it was going to cost half of that. Well, here's why. Here's what it costs, and here's what I charge. I try and get $800 a day. Now, I try and get $800 a day because I'm a business. I'm not an individual. I'm not out here. I have insurance. I have overhead. I have all kinds of business stuff. I'm licensed and everything else, and the whole 9 yards. It's SDS construction. And I don't get $800 a day. The company gets it, and then I get a portion of that to take home, so I can pay my bills and put gas in my truck and make sure that I have the right tools in the tool trailer and all of that, right? Okay, well, surprisingly, there it is. Now, if I handed that to a client, they would already know what the cost is. There's no surprises. When I do business with a client, there are no surprises. Thank you very much for sticking with me, folks. This was a long one. I honestly appreciate it. You all take care. Have a great day. If you haven't already, like and subscribe. Why not at this point? You're invested this far. May as well go ahead and go all the way. Well, you take care. Have a great day. You deserve it. And I hope to see you on the next one, which almost guaranteed will be much shorter than this one. Bye.